but also because 20 years ago when I first saw it, it was in a state of ruinous decay, and I'm just delighted now that it's been restored. I think it's very beautiful because it manages somehow to combine lots of details that we've seen in lots of cottages across rural England and put them together in a way which is quite very definitely different from the way those cottages are usually seen, and makes what I think is definitely a modern building. It's part of the arts and crafts tradition of English architecture at the turn of the century, and to me it's just full of lovely details, delightful spaces. I love the way it sits in the landscape, and I really like the way the plan seems at first to be formal and axial, but when you look at it in more detail, having set up that formal and axial symmetry, the way that Edgar Wood then plays different details off on different parts of the building, and it isn't really axial and symmetrical, it's very asymmetrical and odd and quirky and peculiar. And I think it's that romantic, peculiar quirkiness that appeals to me because I'm unashamedly romantic. So, I mean, that's why I delight in it as a building, and as I said at the beginning, I'm really overjoyed to see a building that I thought was going to disappear forever, restored and reused, even if it's not in the way that it was originally intended. And I'd love to just have the little gatehouse on its own somewhere in my garden.
Moongrove is my architectural pride and joy. When I was chosen as candidate for Parliament for this area in 1969, I was canvassing in the street one night, and a man at number 5 told me that the council were planning to demolish Moongrove on the grounds that it was so derelict that it wasn't worth saving. But it's a small cul-de-sac of Georgian houses. It's a precious architectural asset to the city. So I campaigned and won the campaign to save Moongrove. People moved into the houses, did them up, and as a result, Moongrove has become a very attractive area in which to live. A few years ago, the residents got together an environmental scheme to make Moongrove even nicer, with nice light standards, cobbles on the street, etc. And I got hold of the Secretary of State for the Environment, Michael Heseltine, in the House of Commons, and told him I need this money and I need it fast for Moongrove, and he provided it. And as a result, here we are, a very desirable area in which to live, right in the heart of the inner city, 5 minutes from the centre of the city of Manchester, and a piece of Manchester's precious architectural heritage, which is here for people to go on living in into the next century.
Selected Library Walk for the quality of the space, not the architecture. The buildings themselves were designed by Vincent Harris in 1925 and were a result of an architectural competition. The library was constructed first and was completed in 1934 and was followed by the Town Hall extension in 1938. The the buildings themselves, obviously the library takes is leaning from the classical Pantheon in Rome, but looks nothing like it in reality, and the town hall extension is quite a severe, almost modern building of its time, obviously trying to make a transition between the Gothic of the old town hall and the classical library. The space itself is what interests me. It's severe, and it's an intriguing space. It unravels itself as you actually walk through the space. When I first came to Manchester, probably as a child, 11 or 12, and walked through Library Walk, it seemed quite private and almost as though it was part of a building. If this was in Milan and had a glass roof on it, everybody would be raving about it, but unfortunately it's in Manchester.
I'm standing outside Manchester Cathedral, which is a building full of great historic interest and much beauty. There was a church here in the 15th century, but that either fell down or was knocked down, and this cathedral was built dating from about 1422 in the Gothic Perpendicular tradition after the manor of King's College, Cambridge. It's a relatively small building. The tower is only 130 foot high, but it has the widest nave in England, 10 foot wider than York Minster. Inside the cathedral, it's full of great beauty and delicate artwork in wood and stone. Marvellous arches, great pillars and marvellous screens. The woodwork in the choir is fascinating. It's got an enormous profusion of castles and birds and eagles and bears, a dromedary, a unicorn, and on the one of the cannon stalls is a fearsome looking dragon. And on one of the misericords there's a lovely scene where a fox has pinched the goose away from the farmer's wife. There are also nice chapels in the cathedral, particularly the St John the Baptist Chapel, which is now the regiment chapel where the Manchester Regiment store their colours and their memories. During the war, of course, the cathedral was badly damaged. A bomb landed not very far away from the northeast corner. That destroyed the Lady Chapel, ruined the Regiment Chapel, destroyed a lot of the roofs and blew out all the windows. But thankfully the cathedral has been well restored, so you would hardly know there'd been any damage. Well, here stands the cathedral, right at the heart of Manchester, an important building for the life of the town, a continuing reminder to